Okay, so far in our algebra revision, we have done our notation. We've done evaluating, which is essentially substitution, where you're given a value and you sub it in for the letter. And then the other day we did simplifying. Wednesday we did simplifying, where you add together or subtract terms from the same family. Okay, so today we're going to move on to expanding brackets. Now, there's kind of a bit in this. I'm not going to do all of this today because I just think it might be a bit much. So we'll do this. I'll leave you homework. Now, obviously that homework will be for over the Easter break, and then we'll continue it the Monday after Easter. Whether we're in school or out of school, we'll continue it. Right, so expanding brackets, I suppose the key word here is expand. Expand basically means multiply. Okay, so sometimes they will say multiply the brackets, sometimes they'll say expand the brackets, sometimes they might even simply just say remove the brackets. Okay, and the only way to remove the brackets is to multiply them out. Okay, so I suppose if they told you to multiply, you probably know what to do. If they tell you to remove the brackets, they're implying in order to remove them, you have to multiply. So the only word that you might not know is the word expand. So just to tell you that it means multiply. Okay, so here we have remove the brackets and then simplify. And we already know how to simplify. So we have a 3. And then we have 2x minus y minus 4. And then minus 2. And then x plus 5y minus 1. Right, so what we have to do here is we have to multiply this 3 by this bracket. And when something is, so the brackets mean multiply, so it's 3 multiplied by the stuff in the bracket. That's how you read that. So when you're multiplying by a bracket and there's more than one thing in the bracket, you have to multiply the 3 by everything in the bracket, and that's called distributive multiplication. So you distribute the 3, you're going to multiply it by the 2x, you're going to multiply it by the minus y, and you're going to multiply it by the minus 4. Okay, so that 3 is multiplied by this bracket, so there are 1, 2, 3 things in the bracket, so that is going to call for 3 distributive multiplications. Okay, once I hit this bracket, that multiplication, the 3's multiplication has been completed. So we now move on to a new multiplication where we're multiplying minus 2 by a bracket. And again, there are 1, 2, 3 things in that bracket, so that will require 1, 2, 3 multiplications. Okay, so we're going to use our multiplication rules to do this. And generally the way I do this is sort of in 3 steps. So the first thing I do is I figure out what the sign is going to be. The second thing I do is I figure out the number. And the third thing then is to figure out the letter. Okay, and if you stick with that, it kind of makes it a little bit, at least gives it structure. Okay, so we're going to start with the first multiplication here, which is the 3 by the 2x. So 3 by 2 is 6. And the only letter involved in this multiplication is x, so you just put that on your answer. Okay, now next is going to be the 3 and this minus y here. So this 3 has no sign in front of it, which means it has to be positive. So in this multiplication, I'm multiplying a plus and a minus. When you multiply different signs, your answer will be minus. So that's the sign. Next is the number. So it's a 3. And I've no number here. Now, if I've no number, Invisible Math says it's a 1. So 3 by 1 is 3. And then letters, I've no letter here. And I have a y here, which means the only letter I have is y. Okay. Next one then is the 3 with the minus 4. So number 1, start with signs. So I have a plus here and a minus here. Different signs mean minus. Numbers are next. 3 by 4 is 12, And letters last, there's no letter on the 3 and there's no letter with the 4, which means there's no letter with my answer. Okay, so that's that first bracket done. We'll move on now to the second bracket. Okay, so sign. This is a minus and this x has no sign, which means it's a plus. So different signs mean my answer is going to be minus. Numbers. I have a 2 and I have an invisible 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. And letters, no letter here and an x here, meaning my answer is going to be x. Okay, the next multiplication, which is this minus 2 with this 5y. So signs, minus and plus, different, so minus. 2 times 5 makes 10. And I have no letter here and a y here, which means I just have a y. Okay, the last multiplication then is the minus 2 and the minus 1. So signs, both minuses, which means the signs are the same. So a multiplication will give me plus. 2 times 1 is 2. And there's no letter here and no letter here, which means no letter down here. So I have removed the brackets, or I have expanded, or I have multiplied. So the second thing I have to do is simplify. Right, so my first family here is x, and I have 2 of them. Y is next, and I have 2 of them. And then I have 2 constants. So same as the homework the other night. We do 6 minus 2, which is 4 for my x family. Minus 3 minus 10 is minus 13 for my y family. Remember, when you get to this point, there's no brackets and there's no multiply anymore, so now we're just adding and subtracting. Okay, so the rules that we discussed in that first line, they're now gone down here because those rules only apply for multiplication. Okay, so here you're just adding, you're just doing 6 take away 2, which is 4. You're starting on minus 3 and you're taking away another 10, which is minus 13. Here we start on minus 12 and we're going to add 2, so that's going to be minus 10. Okay, so that's how you expand across the bracket. Okay, so yeah, I think we'll do, there's one other one I want to do, and like I said, I'll complete it then after. So this is exactly the same question, okay? Look, this time they've used the word expand, so remove the brackets and simplify, expand and simplify, multiply and simplify, whichever way they say it, okay? This time we've got 2 brackets, okay? So up here we had a number to be distributed across the first bracket and we had another number to be distributed across the second bracket. Here we don't have that, okay? So when it's like this, when it's 2 brackets together, there's a rule, okay? And the rule is to split the first and multiply by the second. Okay? So, I'm just going to write out again so I have a bit more space. Okay, so split the first. So I'm going to take the 4x and I'm going to write it over here. Then I'm going to take the plus 3 and I'm going to split up that bracket and write the plus 3 here. Okay, so now I've split, that's the first part of the rule, split the first. Okay, and multiply by the second. So I'm going to take this second bracket and I'm going to multiply the 4x by the bracket and I'm going to multiply the 3 by the bracket. So you split up the first bracket and multiply by the second bracket. So I multiplied the 4x by the second bracket and I multiplied the 3 by the second bracket. Okay, and now we're literally back to the same thing as we had up here. Okay, now I'll go through it just to practice it, but it's the same thing. So we're going to take that 4x, which is being multiplied by this bracket, and we're going to distribute it across that first bracket. And then we're going to take this 3, and we're going to distribute it across this bracket. So 4 times 2 is 8. Now I have an x and an x, so I've got 2 x's. So you write that as x squared. Okay? Next multiplication, which is the 4x and the minus 5. So this 4x does not have a sign, which means it has to be plus. So a plus and a minus are different signs, giving me a minus answer. Numbers, 4 times 5 makes 20. And letters, I have an x on the 4 and I have nothing on the 5, which means I just have x. This bracket means that's the end of the 4x multiplication, so I'm going to move on to this multiplication. So, the 3 is a plus, and the 2 has no sign, which means it's also a plus. Same signs mean my answer is going to be plus. 3 by 2 is 6, and then the 3 has no sign, but the 2 does, it has, or not no sign, no letter. The 3 has no letter, but the 2 does, it has an x, which means an x for my answer. And the last multiplication is the 3 and the 5. So signs, plus and a minus are different, which means my answer is minus. 3 by 5 is 15 for the numbers. And then letters, there's no letter on the 3, no letter on the 5, so no letter on my answer. Okay, so 2 brackets, you apply the rule. Split the first and multiply by the second. Once you've done that, you're back to exactly what we were doing in the first example. You distribute the 4x across the first bracket and the 3 across the second bracket. Now I have completed the expansion, so all I have to do is simplify. So I'm going to go back to my highlighters. I have x squared, and I don't have another one. I have an x here, and I have a second one. And I have a constant all by itself as well. Okay, so the 8x squared is on its own, which means it has to stay on its own. Minus 20 plus 6 is minus 14 for the x's, and then the minus 15 is by itself. So that is simplified. Okay, so there are kind of 1 or 2 more that I'd like to do with you from this expansion of brackets. Expanding brackets 1, and we'll do expanding brackets 2 then the Monday after the break. So I will give you homework based on what I've done there, and let me know if there's any questions. Okay.